which has caught some attention. So he has 6,000 acres just north and east of Mr. Garza, and you know, it's literally across the street from Mr. Garza's property, and the wall, you know, stops right there at the edge of Mr. Garza's property.
So he's turned this plantation that he had, that from acres of onions and vegetables, you write, into an exclusive gated community where the homes sell, well, for around $1 million each. Yeah, the northern portion of the property has been turned into high-end gated community, and then the southern end is going to be a business corridor. They have a international bridge that's being built there on land that he donated that crosses into Mexico. So they're going to have, and then he's also partnered with businessmen on the Mexican side, and they're also building over there on the Mexican side as well. So it's when it's finished, it'll be about the size of Manhattan. It's going to be a large business corridor, international business corridor. And the wall stops there. The wall doesn't go through there. Right, correct. Where do the weapons manufacturers come into this story? Where does Boeing fit in, Melissa Delbosque? Well, Boeing secured a contract in 2006, and it's called SBI Net, and it's under the SBI Secure Border Initiative Office under Customs and Border Protection, and it's a consortium of private contractors, and they want an indefinite contract with it has no maximum value on how much they can spend. There's not a limit on how much they can spend. And it's a 3-year contract with 3-year optional advance. And their task is to do whatever it takes to secure the northern and the southern borders. And, you know, in terms of whether we know exactly what that's going to take or entail, I'm not sure that it's really ever been completely laid out. So, I mean, they're building fences, they're doing video surveillance, all kinds of things. Now, you talk about this, what seems like a limitless amount of money that's going into the border wall. And who is overseeing this in Washington? Who is overseeing how much Boeing gets? Well, I mean, Secretary Chertoff and Homeland Security have to go to Congress to ask for the appropriation and explain, you know, what it is that they're doing. But several congressional leaders have sent letters and mentioned in hearings, you know, we'd like to know more about exactly what's going on. And I'm not sure that they've really received the kind of answers that, you know, that they'd like to hear in detail exactly how much we're spending. Are we getting what we're paying for, and is this really going to secure our borders? You write that Congressman Henry Waxman, the California Democrat in charge of the Oversight and Government Reform Committee, had scathing remarks for the SBI Net project. As of December, the Department of Homeland Security had hired a staff of 98 to oversee the new SBI Net contract. He said this may seem like progress until you ask who these overseers are. He says more than half are private contractors. Some of these private contractors even work for companies that are business partners of Boeing, the company they're supposed to be overseeing. And from what we now are learning from the department, this may be just the tip of the iceberg, says Congressman Waxman. Yes, I mean, what I've been hearing in transcripts from hearings such as that one which Congressman Waxman heard is that there's a real concern that that the office that's overseeing the Boeing contract has a majority of private contractors actually staffing the office. So it's unclear as to who exactly is overseeing the contract and whether there is any conflict of interest. I think they're trying to recruit more federal employees, but as of last year, I think they still had I think a 60%
of the employees were private contractors.
Melissa Del Bosque is with us from Austin. She's a reporter with the Texas Observer. We're also joined by Jay Johnston Castro, who is a border activist and coordinator of the Border Ambassadors on a long march until the Texas primary. Jay Johnston Castro, where are you?
Well, I happen to be, and good morning, by the way, I happen to be on Eloisa Tomez's land, staying in a little house here with a distant nephew of hers.
Brownsville area.
Yes.
So what about this march? What are you trying to accomplish?
Well, we had two objectives, and we feel we accomplished the first one. The first objective was to impact the Texas debate that they had and get on the agenda the fact that Homeland Security had sued University of Texas Brownsville to get access to take 166 acres of their land, which would cut right through the campus in Brownsville. Illuminate the fact that they're taking land by eminent domain. Illuminate the fact that they are suing, like for instance, the city of Eagle Pass to take a couple of hundred acres of their land, which would include some public park land and a golf course, so they could build this wall and basically cut the public off from being able to enjoy the river.
I wanted to play for you.
That was objective number one. We got that on the debate, and the objective number two is to impact the March 4 primaries. We're calling this the March 4. We end on March 2nd, which is Sunday.
Jay Johnston Castro, I wanted to play for you part of the debate, last week's Democratic debate in Austin. CNN's John King asked both Senators Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama about the border wall.
Senator, back in 2006, you voted for the construction of that fence. As you know, progress has been slow. As President of the United States, would you commit tonight that you will finish the fence and speed up the construction, or do you think it's time for a President of the United States to raise his or her hand and say, you know what, wait a minute, let's think about this again. Do we really want to do this?
I think when both of us voted for this, we were voting for the possibility that where it was appropriate and made sense, it would be considered. But as with so much, the Bush administration has gone off the deep end. And they are, unfortunately, coming up with a plan that I think is counterproductive.
Does that mean that you think your vote was wrong, or the implementation of it was wrong?
And I think that the way that the Bush administration is going about this, filing eminent domain actions against landowners and municipalities, makes no sense. So what I have said is, yes, there are places when, after a careful review, again, listening to the people who live along the border, there may be limited places where it would work. But let's deploy more technology and personnel instead of the physical barrier.
And Senator Obama, go ahead, please.
Well, this is an area where Senator Clinton and I almost entirely agree. I think that the key is to consult with local communities, whether it's on the commercial interests or the environmental stakes of creating any kind of barrier. And the Bush administration is not real good at listening. That's not what they do well. And so I will reverse that policy. As Senator Clinton indicated, there may be areas where it makes sense to have some fencing. But for the most part, having border patrols, surveillance, deploying effective technology, that's going to be the better approach.
That was both Senators Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton debating in Austin. Jay Johnston Castro, your quick response.
Well, we appreciate the fact that they are reversing their position. We would have appreciated it much more had they been more informed before they voted for something as sinister as an Iron Curtain on the Texas side of the Rio Grande.
Well, we are going to leave it there. I want to thank you both for being with us. Jay Johnston Castro, border activist, coordinator of Border Ambassadors, and Melissa Del Bosque, who is a reporter with the Texas Observer, author of the new article, Holes in the Wall. We'll link to it at democracynow.org, and you can also see the images of the wall at our website at democracynow.org. This is Democracy Now! Back in a minute.
Zona marginal, de talla internacional. Ey, pibe, ey, pibe. guerras hoy las mueven los pozos petroleros que tienen patas arriba y el mundo entero. Mi pregunta es ¿qué pasará después? Cuando se acabe el agua se pelearán otra vez y el imperio diga que va a intervenir el que sea. El líquido vital en su tierra escasea. Bastante de ello, me voy a reír, pero me da miedo pues me pueden extinguir. ¿Qué vas a hacer?